The most dangerous betting strategy is not the one that loses immediately. It is the one that works just long enough for everybody to notice it. You find a pattern, test it, watch the results stack up, and start to believe you have discovered a secret. Then the strategy appears in a post, a video, a group chat, or an AI-generated betting card. More people start looking for the same situation. The line moves earlier. The price gets worse. And eventually, the exact strategy that used to create an edge becomes ordinary information that the market already understands. That is the part most betting advice leaves out. A strategy is not just a rule that produces winners. It is a rule that finds a better price than the market is offering. Once the market learns the rule, the winners may still happen, but the advantage can disappear. Think about a simple player prop example. Imagine a basketball guard who normally plays 32 minutes, but a teammate is ruled out and her expected workload jumps. An early points line opens at 18.5. If you identify the rotation change before the market fully adjusts, you may have found something useful. But once the news spreads, the line can move to 20.5, or the odds can become much more expensive. It is still the same player, the same game, and the same underlying news. The bet is different because the price is different. The first mistake people make is confusing a high win rate with a profitable edge. A strategy can go 8-1 and still be a bad bet if the line was inflated every time. On the other hand, a strategy can lose a few close decisions and still be valuable if it consistently gets better prices than the closing market. The quality of the price only becomes visible when you track it over time. This is why I care about when the pick was available, what number I took, and where that number ended up. If a player prop moves toward my position before the game starts, that does not guarantee the bet wins. It does tell me the market eventually agreed with at least part of the information I was using. The second mistake is testing a strategy after the fact. Once you search through enough games, you can find almost any pattern you want. Maybe a team covers after a certain travel schedule. Maybe a player goes over when a particular teammate sits. Maybe a specific matchup produced a perfect record in a tiny sample. The pattern can look powerful because you selected it after seeing the results. That is not the same as discovering a repeatable edge before the next bet. A strategy has to survive new data, different market conditions, and the exact price at which you could have placed it. If it only looks impressive after the winning games are highlighted, it may be a story about the past rather than a tool for the future. The third mistake is assuming that copying the strategy means copying the edge. It does not. If someone posts that a certain type of player prop is mispriced, the first wave of bettors may move the number. The people who arrive later are buying the same idea after the discount has been removed. They may still win, but their expected return is no longer the same as the person who found the information early. This is where AI becomes genuinely interesting. AI can scan roll, minutes, usage, attempts, matchup details, pace, injury news, and recent context much faster than I can do manually. That analytical ability is powerful because it helps me see the variables underneath a trend instead of just memorizing the trend itself. This is where I use parlai. Parlai is built for this kind of sports betting analysis because it gives the models live context instead of asking them to reason from an old box score. I can bring in current statistics, injury information, lineup and rotation news, and matchup details before I judge a prop. I can choose one model for a focused read, or use a full panel to compare different interpretations of the same line. I can challenge the reasoning in live chat, ask which assumption is carrying the prediction, and use previous losses as feedback instead of letting them vanish into a spreadsheet. You can check it out at parlai.cc. But AI does not make a strategy trouble by itself. If thousands of people ask the same models the same question and all receive the same answer, that answer can become part of the price. The real advantage is not blindly following an AI consensus. It is using AI to investigate why the consensus exists, what information has already been absorbed, and where the models disagree. For example, I do not want to ask, what is the lock on the board? I want to ask, what changed from the opening number to the current number, which assumptions caused the move, and does the current price still leave enough room for error? That turns AI from a pick generator into a market research assistant. Let us go back to the guard listed at 18.5 points. The early case for the over might be strong because the rotation creates extra minutes and extra attempts. But if the line is now 20.5, the question is no longer whether the news is good. The question is whether the added workload is large enough to clear the new number. AI can compare the player's normal roll with the projected roll, estimate a reasonable range instead of one dramatic prediction, and show which assumptions would have to be true for the over to remain attractive. That range matters because the average can hide uncertainty. A projection of 20.8 sounds exciting against a line of 20.5, but it does not tell you much if the realistic outcomes stretch from 16 to 25. A tighter range around 20 may be more informative if it survives a stress test of the assumptions. So how do I decide whether a strategy is still alive? First, I define the mechanism instead of giving it a catchy label. Bet overs after a teammate is ruled out is not a complete strategy. I want to know which roles gain minutes, which players gain attempts, how the opponent defends that role, and how much the line has already moved. Second, I timestamp the opportunity. I record the original number, the number I could actually get, and the closing number. That keeps me from claiming an edge that only existed in a screenshot from 3 hours earlier. Third, I separate discovery from confirmation. A pattern can be interesting enough to investigate without being strong enough to bet. I want to test it on games that were not used to find it, and I want a rule for when the strategy is no longer working. If the line moves earlier, the sample changes, or the market starts charging for the information, the strategy needs to adapt or be retired. Finally, I let losses teach me what the original rule did not understand. Sometimes a miss reveals that the role was never as stable as it looked. Sometimes the matchup mattered more than the trend. Sometimes the strategy was correct but the price was too high. That distinction is why reflection matters. Without it, every win becomes proof and every loss becomes an excuse. The betting strategies that last are rarely secret forever. They last because the process keeps updating after the secret is exposed. You watch the market, track the price, challenge the assumptions, and ask whether the edge is still there right now rather than whether it was there last month. The goal is not to repeat a magic rule forever. It is to understand what created the advantage, recognize when the market begins charging for it, and find the next version of the opportunity. If you want more videos about how I use AI to evaluate sports betting situations, subscribe to Professor Parlai.